inner peace out. Let your inner peace out. Inner peace out. Let your inner peace out. Karmic relief.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Ed Trout, and I am here with my co-host, the Reverend Michael Everett Davis.
Howdy.
Howdy. And we are so glad to have you here. I know we have some attendees here in our Zoom webinar. We also have some folks that are watching live on Facebook. So we're going to do our best to try to watch the chats through both or all of those media. There we go. Michael's got phone in hand to keep an eye on what is going on in Facebook land. So this is Karmic Relief. This is a chance for Michael and myself to get to talk to some really cool people.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And we both are performers and improvisers, but we also are very much firm believers that the improv skills that we have learned as performers are basic, not only life skills, but kind of spiritual tools. Mm-hmm. So we use an acronym, at least I use an acronym. Michael has a slightly different take on it, but my acronym, right, PEACE, P-E-A-C-E. That P is for present-mindedness, being with the people that you are with, be in the room with them. That first E is for the fact that you're trying to engage everybody. Everybody around you is part of your life, part of that world, so engage them. The A is for acceptance, which is huge. The C is for commitment, like step up to the plate, give it your best effort in that moment and follow through. And that last E is for the enthusiasm, the enjoyment that we bring to what we do. So again, P-E-A-C-E, present-mindedness, engage everybody, accept, commit, and find some enthusiasm and some enjoyment for all of that. That's kind of where we're launching from, that mindset. And we have a really, really wonderful person here to talk to this evening. We have known Rashida for many years. We first did some theater work in and around together. She did some of the performances at Footlight Musicals, which is where I met her as a young adult, young artist. Very talented young lady, but we're not talking about her theater stuff this evening. Michael, why don't you get us started on learning a little about Rashida for those that don't know her?
Oh, sure. Rashida began her work in the nonprofit world back in 1998, educating women about HIV and STDs and taking care of their own sexual health. Her focus started shifting to educating, and soon she was speaking at conferences all over the country with her message of empowerment.
Now, in 2010, she was given the opportunity to run her own youth-focused HIV and STD prevention program. And she maintained that theme of empowerment and training over 100 different youth to be peer educators.
And in 2013, she was hired at the Indiana Youth Group, known as IYG. If you see my license plate, you'll know what that is. To start a program focusing on the parents of LGBTQ plus youth. And while IYG has done an amazing job creating a safe, welcoming place for the LGBTQ youth, they also knew that the kids would make healthier decisions if they lived in accepting households. So the work really began talking to, educating, and supporting those parents to help them create accepting households.
So Rashida both facilitated groups and coached parents one-on-one. And during that time, she became a mother herself, which is pretty awesome. Then 3 years ago, she decided to become a certified life and family coach. And now she works directly with parents of LGBTQ plus youth, helping them understand and communicate with their children so that they can grow up to be healthier, happier adults. So I think without any further ado, it is time for us to meet the one, the only Rashida Bonds.
Yay. Hi. Hi guys.
Hi Rashida. I adore you.
I adore you both. Thank you both so much for having me tonight.
Yeah, it is our pleasure.
Yes.
You light up a room and light up a screen just by being here. So thank you for taking time out of your schedule as a coach, certified life and family coach, I might add. Right. And, I know we've got some people that have, as I said, I know signed in on the Zoom webinar, and Michael's watching Facebook. So I don't know if people want to say hi or where they're signing in from or where they're watching from.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, feel free to, if you have not found the chat function yet, by the way, because if you have questions that you want to ask, that's how you'll be asking them, is through the chat function. So you can feel free to find that chat function. Just give us a quick hi, hello, or love you, Rashida. Anything to let us know that you've figured out how to chat or how to make that comment on Facebook. That would be swell. So hey, why don't we kick off with some questions?
Okay, I love it.
All right. Well, we're going to start.
So sweet. Love you too, Michael. Oh.
Ed said just hype it in, so I meant it. All right. So we're gonna ask Rashida a bunch of questions. We're going to interrogate her. We're going to start off like Tina Turner, nice and easy. So, just tell us about your beginnings and with your educating women and youth on STDs and HIV.
So I was very much very lucky. I feel like I was brought into the world of HIV prevention. I told my mom, I saw a little girl named Hydea Broadbent on Oprah. She was a little girl who had HIV, and she talks about how she didn't have friends at school because they were afraid to be friends with her. And at that time I was like, oh, this is what I have to do with my whole life. I decided I want to help people. I want people to help people accept people with differences, right? And so my mom was in college at the time, and I was in college at the time, and she met someone who worked at an AIDS service organization, and he was like, hey, we actually have an opening. She was like, my daughter really likes this stuff. And I was able to get a job. It was really like, the woman who hired me is one of my best friends. She was in my wedding. And she never hires people this way. She literally just had a phone call with me, and she was like, okay, you start in a week. I'm on vacation next week, so I'll see you after that. And I was like, okay. And my life changed. And that program was primarily geared toward women, helping them to learn about HIV and STDs and how to empower themselves to make decisions for their own sexual health. And because I was 19, and Ed, you knew me back then, like I looked like a child. I did. And so,
but that's another whole point.
Thank you. But when I would go into rooms of like 35-year-old women, they were like, why is this child talking to me about my sexual health? And they would get offended or just wouldn't listen. And so my boss noticed that very quickly, was like, we're gonna switch you to youth because you're a peer educator, and even though these women don't realize that you're an adult, the teenagers may relate to you easier. So I really started focusing on youth at that point, and I loved it because youth are a lot less inhibited than middle-aged women. So I got to really have real conversations with them, which was so fun, and make real changes. And one of the places that I got to go was IYG. I got to go there twice a month. I would go there once for education, and then another day in the month to do HIV and STD testing. And because I was there twice a month, I got to build really great relationships with the youth. I still call them my babies, even though most of the kids that I interacted with are adults now. But if they find me on Facebook, I'm like, what's up, kid? I don't care how old they get. They know that they're kids to me. And they became my babies. I call them my babies even still to this day. And so it was just kind of like a little magical trickle into IYG. And once the government decided they didn't want to give so much funding to prevention programs, I had to figure out what I wanted to do. And so right around that time, IYG had received a grant. There were two positions. One was to help prevent the suicide rate among LGBTQ+ youth. And the other one was to work with parents in order to help create accepting households to help lower the suicide rate among LGBTQ+ youth. Well, at that point, it was like 16 years of my life or something, 15 years of my life where I had only been working with youth. And I was like, I don't like grownups. I don't want to work with grownups. I want the job where I'm working with youth. And they were like, no, you don't have that one. You're going to have to work with the adults. And they explained to me that it was important for me to use my straight cisgenderness to talk to straight cisgender people, and how me, and especially like straight cisgender Christian, as the question of religion comes in a lot. And so I'm able to relate to them on my straight cisgender Christianness and still find a way. If I can find a way to accept, then it's very possible that you can find a way to accept. So I used my privilege to be able to get into there. And so after I left IYG, I just wanted to work for myself doing it. So I became certified. That's a long story.
That's awesome. Well, and there at the end, you're talking about acceptance. And prior to broadcast, we've been talking about some of the improv principles, and acceptance, is a huge improv principle, but obviously it's really huge in your work as well. And I think you touched on it a little bit, but just in a nutshell, why does acceptance matter, especially for people of a certain age? We had talked about this. The language used to be tolerance, right? Used to be used, you would tolerate people who were different, and that's really evolved, and wisely so, and rightly so, I believe, to acceptance. Why does it matter?
Well, I'll talk about sort of like the difference between the words, but the biggest reason for me that acceptance matters is because an LGB, actually the number that I'm about to say is way larger for trans youth, but for LGB youth, they are 3.5 times more likely to attempt suicide than their straight counterparts if they do not come from an accepting household. And so it is imperative to me that we keep these magical babies on this planet, because they have something in them that we need on this planet. And it is a crime. It is devastating to lose them because a parent had a hard time understanding, or a parent was operating out of fear. And that is more than anything the cause of the lack of acceptance, is they're holding white knuckled to their fear. And so acceptance is important to keep these babies on this planet. And then tolerance, I don't ever just want to be tolerated. Right. I don't like lukewarm. Let's just be cold or hot. Either accept me or don't. But tolerating me is insulting. It's worse than not acceptance almost, because it is putting the tolerator on a pedestal of, I allow you in my presence. I will allow you to be here even though I think you shouldn't be, or that you don't deserve to be. And no. So it's that tolerance is not acceptable. Okay. So acceptance has been shown to be way better. I mean, tolerance is insulting, honestly. So that's why acceptance is better than tolerance, But, it's at one point, I think, because, a lot of oppressed people have just looked, at one point they were just so desperate for something. Okay, just tolerate me. If you could just tolerate me in your space, maybe I can convince you that I'm a human being too, and that I deserve all of the things that you have. But I think now is the time that we're like, okay, we all know that we're humans, right? I don't need you to tolerate me.
I hope so.
Right. Right. So yeah, that's why tolerance has been taken out of the language, because it's just not helpful and healthy.
That's awesome. Thank you, Rashida.
Yes.
So just moving on. So you became certified like three or so years ago.
Yeah.
So first of all, what does that mean? You're a certified life and family coach. So what's that mean?
So that means that I went to school. I went to coaching school. It was 3 months of some intense work, and then I took a big old test for not just the school, but also for this certification board. And passing both of those tests allow me to say that I'm certified. But it is not required for someone to be certified to be a life coach. It is just something that can be helpful. Right now, the life coach industry isn't regulated in that way. So someone can be a life coach without any certification. I'll say that for me, it has helped, even though I was doing basically coaching at IYG for parents, going through school, and then also being a part of different coaching mentorship programs, it has allowed me to be a better coach and has given me a tool belt that is wider than what I had when I was coaching at IYG.
Cool. I think you kind of answered my follow-up on that of why does it matter.
Yeah.
I feel like you
Yeah.
filled that in.
Well, and you talked about your tool belt. I want to kind of jump to something that I've witnessed as part of your tool belt, which is you sharing your wisdom. Because for anybody that's watching or listening that is not following Rashida or connected with her on Facebook or other social media, do yourself a favor and connect with her, because she will post things that are full of so much heart and so much wisdom. Michael, I think we have a slide of something that she shared not long ago that these were the kind of things that I would see from her that's like, oh, we need to talk to her more publicly. So how to support your LGBTQ kid around unsupportive family and friends. And, number one, put your kid's comfort first. Who cares what Uncle Joe said or, Aunt Flo? Your kid's comfort has to be there. And
even grandma and grandpa, because we grow up, revering our parents, and we don't say what we want to say around our parents because they're our parents, but there comes a time when we are the parents and we have to protect our kids because we're in charge of them. They're our responsibility. So even if we're protecting them from their grandparents, it is our job to protect them.
Yep. And that, like, number two, obviously set clear boundaries, because you're doing exactly that. Like you can't do this. And for me personally, that third one, be the example of how they should be loved and treated, I think is huge. Because sometimes I think parents, again, sort of fall into the, not necessarily the tolerance phase, but the sort of like, we're just not going to talk about it. Or, we'll let them kind of be this, the redheaded stepchild. Like, we just sort of, as opposed to, no, they're a full member of the family. We love them, we support them, and we're going to demonstrate that publicly so that they can see that and feel that.
And it also helps members of the LGBTQ plus community stop becoming a them, like a there. I don't know how to talk to them over there, or I don't know how to be around them over there. And when it comes home, when it hits home, when someone in the community is now a member of your family, you can then realize that it's not an outside of you kind of thing. Like, they're still your grandkid, or they're still your niece or nephew, or they're still your child. They're still that same person. And you can really just talk to them and joke with them and be loving to them the same way you were before. But if they require pronouns that you're not used to using, parents can just show, hey, I'm just using this pronoun. It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
Look at how the world is still turning, and I'm still eating my mashed potatoes. Like, everything is still fine.
Right. And I think even demonstrating, because I think this is hugely, and Michael, you can go ahead and pull that graphic, but thank you for sharing it. But I think it's hugely important to show, like, when family, parents, loved ones, whatever, forget and use the wrong pronoun, and then
Mhm.
like, correct themselves and like openly just be like, oh, right, I'm sorry, I meant
Sorry.
they.
Yeah.
Right. And just talk about it. Just be
Yeah.
open.
I mean, that
Yeah.
acknowledgement can mean so much. Just saying, oops,
Right.
I'm sorry. This is hard for me to get used to. Oh my goodness. Like, but on the other side, it makes the relative feel embarrassed or weird. And why would you put me in this weird situation where I have to learn these new things? But being vulnerable with your family member who is going through this transition and has to go through the hard thing of being around the people who are struggling with the newness, you know, like this is a way to meet in a middle ground where we're both like, okay, this is strange, this is hard, we're going to get through it together. Like, it's so good. It's so good.
It is good. So, you know, family can be a hard hurdle to get through. So I'm going to the hardest one, I think. So I'm ordained. I'm an interfaith minister, and I'm also a G in the LGBTQ plus rainbow. And there's a lot of people that don't see how those two can go together. So, but a religion can play a part in not being supportive of LGBTQ plus kids, and can lead toward, you know, some homophobia and eventually toward hate. So, and they use their religion to justify it. So how do you deal with that mindset?
Okay, so that has come up a lot. And I always say, like, I am not the scripture quoting Christian. I'm not. I'm like, I don't know where it is, but I'm pretty sure somebody said this somewhere, you know, like I will know that. But here's what I say. There's a lot of stuff that can be interpreted and digested in the Bible. But there are some things that are super duper clear. And one thing is to love. It's to love. And so what I believe as a Christian who is not quoting anything is that I am charged to love and let God do the rest. And so as a parent, it is not only your job to love, but you are a steward of the life of this child. And if you have made the decision, this uber fleshy decision, to reject your child to whom you were given as a gift because of fear, you're not doing that one thing, which is loving your child. Let God deal with the rest. You don't have to have all the answers. Like, that should be a load off your shoulders. You don't have to have all the answers. You were charged to love. That's it. So if we can get to that, and it's your baby, you know? And I talk to a lot of foster families too, and a lot of adoptive families. And even if this child was brought to your life, even though you didn't carry this child or this child isn't genetically linked to you, this child is in your life for a reason. You should take that responsibility very seriously, because this child could be in the life of anybody, but for some reason God chose you for this child to be in your life.
Yeah.
Are you going to reject that child for fear of what God is going to say? What was actually your fear, and you're just using God. But for fear what God is going to say, I would be more afraid of what he's going to say about your lack of love, because that is what you're charged to do. And that usually gets...
I was gonna say, I love that Aaron responded with, "Yes, Lord, love is all there is." Right? That's it. That is the fundamental thing. We're getting closer to the end of our time, and I want to make sure we have time.
I'm so sorry. I'm so long.
I know.
That was going so fast.
No.
Great.
You're perfect. It just goes quickly. like 30 seconds. I know you're hoping to do or planning to do a webinar sometime over the next few months. So can you, like, in 30 seconds kind of encapsulate what that would be?
So basically, this is going to be just a web version of the type of classes that I would do at IYG. I'm going to do some basic LGBTQ plus 101 information that comes with some group activities that helps bring the lesson home. And then also my sweet spot is teenagers. And so sometimes parents are like, is this their gender identity or is this them being a teenager? And I'm like, this thing is their gender identity. You need to pay attention. This thing is their jerk because they're 16.
Right.
Okay. And this is how we deal with jerks. And this is how we deal with gender identity. And so helping them identify the difference between the two.
That's awesome. That hugely important and awesome. Yeah, because just because your child is dealing with this gender identity doesn't mean they're not being a jerk because they're 16. How do you separate?
Right. They can't, and my kids at IYG would try that. Oh, you're just mad at me because I'm gay. No, I'm mad because I told you 18 times to take out the trash. Take out the trash. Right.
I love it. Okay, so in the time that we have, we want to make sure that we get just a little bit of like improv principle work in here too.
Okay.
So we had talked about how, like, you know, acceptance is big in improvisation and obviously in your work. And in improv, the mantra is yes and. Whatever somebody throws at you as an improviser, you want to accept it and try to build on it rather than fight against the reality. By the way, also kind of works when you're going through a global pandemic. It's like, yep, this is happening. Here's what I can do with it.
Right.
So I want to try an experiment, and we'll keep this brief. But somebody watching, or whether it's Zoom or somebody in Facebook, and Michael can watch for that, we need something that Michael and Rashida are planning. So it could be some kind of event or party or something they're going to do with their life. What are they trying to plan together? It's the two of them working together to plan something. So what is that thing, please put it in the chat, that they are trying to
What are we
plan?
planning?
What are we gonna plan?
We've got, I love it, the debut of a new fishing show. This is from Erin. It's perfect.
Thank you, honey.
The debut of a new fishing show. So, hey, Michael, why don't you kick it off? And instead of saying yes and for this, we're going to start with a yes but. All right? So start with yes but.
All righty. I get to start? Okay.
Yes.
Hey, Rashida. I just had this great idea. I think you and I, just the two of us, should start a fishing show.
Yes, but do you think we know enough about fishing to spread our word to the masses?
Yes, but you know, we don't have a boat.
Yes, but I think that worms are disgusting and I don't want to touch them.
Oh yeah, worms are disgusting, but well, we could use minnows.
Yes, but I don't want to touch. It's gross.
We'll stop there because we're not really getting anywhere. Like, we keep talking about trying to do a show, but we can't even get to the first step of, are we using
I'm grossed out by everything. Right.
So I want to try the same start. You can change your first line if you want. But you're trying to put together a new fishing show, but now use yes and. You accept and build on it. Start, Michael.
Okay. Hey, Rashida, do you want to do a fishing show with me?
Yes, and we can do it at my house. I have this room, and it will be so cool if we do it there. Cut down costs.
Oh, yes. I like cutting down costs, and, you know, we could, you know, Ed's an artist. He could paint a backdrop on one of the walls to look like we're in a lake.
Ooh, that'd be beautiful. Yes. And I have a friend who's really good at fishing, and maybe we can bring them on as a guest so I don't have to touch things.
Yes.
Okay. We'll stop it with that callback about touching gross things. But just that change of mindset of going from because the yes but still seems like it's an acceptance, right? To go, yes, but let me push back. And it's kind of like talking about that tolerance thing again. Oh yeah, you're okay, but whereas, and doesn't really accomplish anything. But the yes and, now we have a show that's going to take place in your house. There's a painted backdrop. We have a friend who's advising and helping. Like, immediately things are happening because we can accept that this is their contribution. This is that person's reality. Here's what I can do with that.
Yeah.
It's just a huge difference.
I love it. I love it as a philosophy for life. I love it.
Oh, it's awesome.
Me too. Me too. We are so close to the end here. Michael, do you have any last questions or any?
No, I think, but yes.
No, but yes.
No,
Yes, and.
I just want to go back to tolerance and acceptance and coming out of tolerance into acceptance, and then we're also moving into inclusion. And representation. So
and equity.
And, yeah.
And equity. Yes.
So, but to all life is beautiful and all life is sacred. And once we all acknowledge that,
man.
There is a question from Sue about how would she be able to watch your webinar when it goes on? What does she need to do to make sure that she is linked with what you're putting out there?
In the loop. She can either follow me on Facebook. I have a personal page and a business page. They're both basically the same. So you can follow either one. You can either just look up Rashida Bonds or Coach Rashida Bonds. And then also I have a website, which is coachrashidabonds.com. And you can go there and I'll be updating stuff there too.
And we'll have that up on the screen here in just a minute.
Yeah. So we're going to close out here with a tiny poem, the tiniest of poems, a 3-word poem.
Yes. Okay.
So while Michael and Rashida are thinking of their words, I want to remind you that Rashida, we're going to put her information up. She would love for you to connect with her. She would also love any support. If you want to support her work, there will be some links there for getting her some money that she will not feel guilty about taking, because she's doing lovely work and very necessary work. Next month, we have singer, songwriter, folk artist David Roth joining us, and he's a lovely human being as well. So make sure you tune in for that. But in the meantime, so Michael and Rashida, do you have your words?
I do.
Yes.
I've got mine.
Yes.
Okay, let's hear this 3-word Zen poem.
Love.
Acceptance.
Fun.
Yeah.
Love, acceptance, fun. Excellent.
Love it.
So everybody think on those words. Those sum up our experience of this time together. Love, experience, and fun. You've been great, Rashida. I cannot say enough good things.
Thank you guys for having me. This is so fun.
Our pleasure.
I'm so glad you said yes.
Yes.
Yes,
And.
And we are going to close out with a screen that has some contact information, so you can reach her there. And just a closing song. The music both before and after is music from Michael and myself. Bear in mind, these were quick recordings. This is not any finished product, but eventually we will get another CD out with these songs on it too. But we'll close with one song, one side. So again, thank you, Rashida.
Thank you. Thank you so
everybody,
much.
Have a good night, and we will look forward to seeing everybody soon.
All right.
We can never know the journey of another soul, so we should accept them. We should accept them, yes. We can never know the journey of another soul, so we must accept them. We must accept them as they are. You can never never know the journey of another soul. So please accept me. Please accept me. Oh, you can never know the journey of another soul. So please accept me. Please accept me as I am. I do what's best as I perceive it. I live my life as I believe it. I realize I can never see more than God will reveal to me. I know that I have to strive to find and live my highest life, and so I have to see the same in you. Oh, I can never know the journey of another soul, so I will accept you. I will accept you, yes. I can never know the journey of another soul, so I do accept you. I do accept you as you are. I do what's best as I perceive it. I live my life as I believe it. I realize I can never see more than God will reveal to me. I know that I have to strive to find and live my highest life, and so I have to see the same in you. Oh, I can never know the journey of another soul, so I will accept you. I will accept you, yes. I can never know the journey of another soul, so I do accept you. I do accept you as you are. We should accept them. We must accept them as they are. Please accept me. I ask you to accept me as I am, and I will accept you. I've already accepted you.